In the summer of 2011, the Klamath County Commissioners and the City of Klamath Falls City Council agreed to set up a Community Public Safety Advisory Committee. The committee was tasked with compiling and reviewing information about the overall public safety services for Klamath County. Public safety was defined as law enforcement, corrections, fire, ambulance, adult and juvenile prosecution, and emergency management services. Our committee was selected from citizen applicants and city, county, and public safety stakeholders. All of us are citizens of the county, and there are members from all over the county. After the selection of the committee was established, a work plan that included the help of an independent facilitator to guide the group in the initial stages of the work to be completed. That work was initially focused, due to imminent loss of jail services, on law enforcement. After over 6 months' analysis of facts regarding the service levels, budgets, legislation, and current tax codes, the committee made its initial short-term recommendation to levy additional taxes for 3 years for the jail and move those operations out of the general fund of the county. That recommendation was based on a number of financial facts. Budget shortfalls, contractual obligations were increasing, legislative mandates, property tax compression, economic recession, increased inflation on consumables, reduction of timber funds, and labor costs rising. Service levels facts were also reviewed. Less jail beds, less patrol, less prosecutorial ability, less juvenile services, less correction services, less ambulance services, stressed fire services, and a frustrated community. Legislative changes at the state level allowed for this option to be dismissed. These changes have provided the required time and funding to give the committee the time required to establish a long-term public safety solution. Regardless of the short-term help, this issue remains fluid and only providing funding to support the basic level of jail services and minimum support to other areas in public safety. After the resolution of the imminent financial short-term level of service issues facing the county for jail services was resolved by the short-term legislative action by the state, the committee began working on the long-term planning agreed at the committee's original formation meetings. The committee is in agreement that any solution must encompass the whole of public safety in a way that solutions are complementary to the other branches of service without creating additional budget, service, or legislative problems for the other public safety departments. A viable public safety system is dependent on all aspects of the system to be properly funded and meet the needs of the populace and each other, as each department's services play interconnected support roles. To accomplish the task of providing viable options to our community, the committee adopted a revised work plan that established 4 work groups to focus on specific areas of public safety. 1, law enforcement and corrections. 2, adult and juvenile prosecution. 3, fire, ambulance, and emergency management services. Then 4, community and public information. Law enforcement and corrections has continued to refine many of the long-term solutions developed during the initial short-term review process. Under close review are the budgets of the individual policing entities along with the jail budget. Additionally, service levels are being weighed against the budgets to help determine the feasibility of the recommendations as they are established. Also under review are the federal, state, and local legislative mandates, including the tax codes and taxing districts that affect services for over 200 different tax code districts in Klamath County. Other budgets saving ideas are being reviewed for feasibility and legality. The committee expects that it will have a viable law enforcement and corrections recommendation for our community that will involve a number of actions, some of which that may require voter involvement and/or legislative change. Adult and juvenile prosecution is having its budgets and service levels reduced at a rate faster than any other department in public safety. Reduction of prosecution services will ultimately create a bottleneck in the public safety system by not allowing the criminals to be prosecuted, creating the need for either more bed space or the early release of criminals awaiting a process that is already stretched too thin for the current workload. The committee believes that many of the options being reviewed will allow for funding to be allocated to prosecution that will allow its service levels to be commensurate with the needs of the jail and law enforcement departments. Fire, ambulance, and emergency management services in Klamath County have evolved farther than law enforcement and prosecution in that fire and ambulance already benefit from their own taxing district. However, legislative issues at the state level are causing revenues to decrease as property values decline and current laws on the books impose certain limitations. Fire services have yet to see public degradation of services. However, rural areas are seeing service level issues with both fire and ambulance services. Many of the issues facing fire and ambulance services may be rectified by an economic revival. However, the current taxing system and operational foundation point to shortages on the horizon that require further analysis of how the taxing, budget, and operational systems work going forward, and at what point the current system may not meet the needs of the public. Ambulance services are an entirely different issue for our region. There are a number of service level issues facing our rural communities as ambulance services fail to meet the needs of our communities, and an ability to work objectively towards a common service standard continues to impede the ability of certain areas. Emergency management continues to be funded by Klamath County's general fund. Integration of the emergency management function is a priority of the committee, and attention is being paid to how to maintain this office within any recommended public safety structure we have. As with law enforcement and prosecution, the fire, ambulance, and emergency management departments will see a viable, comprehensive recommendation from this committee. Our public information programs are geared towards educating the public on the scope of public safety in the county. Most of our citizens do not realize the massive scope of work required by the limited resources available to our departments. They are also geared towards reversing the false information currently understood by many in our community regarding how public safety dollars are allocated and spent by each department. Some of the things that we're sharing with the public are our scope of work, the status of committee work through our website at klamathonline.com in direct communications, status of current public safety services, status of legislative action that's ongoing, status of taxing issues, status of economic factors, facts of the current budget and future budgets, facts of services, and the facts about the recommendations being made. Finally, as we develop our long-term solutions, the Community Education Group will prepare and present objective information to the public in a variety of ways that will reach the whole of our community. We've already been out having town halls, speaking to groups. We've had a number of presentations to the community already, and those are going to continue through our process as we move towards our last date in December. Some of the media we use to reach the public includes banners, event FAQ cards, as well as our Facebook page and information area on klamathonline.com. We will also be conducting surveys, polling for feedback on ideas, and conducting Q&A sessions. The public is always welcome at our meetings, and we make time for public comments or questions at the end of each meeting.
Brian, can we...
We meet the first Thursday of each month right here at the Government Center, and we from 3 to 5 p.m., and we meet the third Thursday of each month at City Hall from 3 to 5 p.m. Beginning October of 2012, we will meet again every Thursday because we'll be moving out of our we won't be getting rid of the work groups. We'll be moving from the work group sessions back into regular sessions. All the data is being compiled, and now we'll be start working on it together as a group.
Do you know where you'll be meeting here?
I'm gonna guess it's going to be still here and
Okay.
at the city. We haven't finalized the schedule and how that schedule is going to be. That's why I said to be announced. And then we'll continue to push information out through KlamathOnline.com, our Facebook page, and public safety at yourbizdoctor.com. They can reach us and ask us questions or give us information. In closing, we believe that we have made significant progress at laying a solid foundation of understanding of the issues and are already building viable long-term solutions options meeting or exceeding the needs of our community while being viable in regards to our legislative, revenue, and service limitations.